Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, we're not the most stable, but you know what? It'll do. Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet vegan because I'm Viet and I'm vegan, and today I'm gonna do a video that is relevant to a lot of people who might be starting out with veganism for the first time because it's Veganuary. The 1st of January, a lot of you are making some amazing health goals and resolutions to go vegan for 30 days or go vegan completely, or some of you might be just newly vegan from the last year or so. I've been vegan for just over 6 years now and I was vegetarian for 2 years before that. So I feel like I have a lot of experience with being vegan, and also on this platform dealing with vegans, I'm kind of at the forefront of it. There are a lot of things that I wish I knew before I went vegan, so I just want to prepare you so you know about them. I obviously am vegan for the animals and also for environmental reasons. I didn't start out that way. Long story short, I'm here for the long haul, and veganism is really important for me because I care about the environment, I care about animals. Let's just get into this video. Here are 10 things that I wish I knew before I went vegan. Number 1, it takes your body time to adjust. The main difference from when I went vegetarian to vegan is that I focused a lot more on eating healthy foods, like a lot more plants, a lot more whole grains, and a lot less cheese. Basically, when I first went vegetarian, I replaced every meat option with cheese. I obviously gained a lot of weight and also had like a lot of digestive issues because I haven't been diagnosed, but I definitely have some adverse reactions to dairy. But I was the biggest cheese lover. A lot of people will say to me like, oh, I can never go vegan, I just like love cheese too much. But I don't think those people understood how I felt about cheese. To me, cheese was life. Cheese was everything. Everything was better with cheese. I learned too much about the dairy industry and I just couldn't go back. When I switched from being vegetarian to vegan, I had a bit of an adjustment, especially when I started to incorporate more beans. What I didn't realize is that your body will be so gassy because you're essentially increasing the amount of fiber, which is great. We definitely need more fiber. I will say my poops have been amazing, especially ever since I started taking a probiotic, and especially ever since I started focusing more on fiber in my diet. Overall, my uptick in fiber really made me gassy. So it does take your body a little bit of time to sort of develop that gut flora to like learn how to properly digest those fibers. And I think that's definitely for the better. It definitely helps if you're taking a probiotic. And yeah, it'll take, I don't know, it depends on the person. I think it took me probably about like 6 months for my body to be like, oh, okay, like we eat these things regularly. This is fine. Things like black salt made me really gassy, and they have this special kind of sulfuric egg fart that is unreal, but it is so delicious in food, so it was definitely worth it. My number 1 thing that I wish I knew before I went vegan was that it would take my body time to adjust and that I wouldn't always be stinky. Number 2, you will inevitably make mistakes. You will misread a label, someone will accidentally feed you something with butter or cheese or eggs in it. Sometimes you'll just like mindlessly eat something and it'll just have some sort of animal product in it. And that's okay. You will learn from it and you will try not to make that mistake again. It's not the end of the world, the damage is done. There's no use in you beating yourself up over it. You'll just have to move on, and that's okay. You are not less of a vegan because you made a mistake, because you didn't realize or you didn't know. There's so many things that are like hidden in foods. There's like gelatin and everything, milk powder and everything. There's things that are disguised as plant-based ingredients, but really they're made out of like insects or whatever. So it's just kind of a journey for you to eventually learn what is in products. And sometimes there's things that are derived from animals that aren't even listed as ingredients because they're not in the final ingredients. So for example, alcohol, wine, beer, not really liqueurs, but mostly wine and beer. Sometimes they're refined with bone char, sugar is refined with bone char. Sometimes they use isinglass, which is a type of fish bladder to sort of like collect all the impurities from the distilling process. Personally, I try to be generally aware of what's vegan and not vegan. In terms of wine, there's a resource called Barnivore where you can look up stuff, but at the end of the day, like one drink for me is not like the end of the world, because typically for those sort of products, they're using byproducts of an industry. They're not necessarily like cows dying specifically to become bone char to refine wine or beer. Those things aren't a huge priority to me, but I will look. You live and you learn. Number 3, this is probably one of the harder things and one of the things that I wish I knew before I went vegan. Not that it would have stopped me, but I think it would have prepared me better. It's that being vegan can be pretty difficult socially, and it'll reveal a lot about you and a lot about your relationships and friendships with people. I have had arguments with my significant others, even Eddie, about whether or not being vegan is right and being vegan is healthy or important or those kinds of things. There was a phase when I first went vegan that the guy that I was dating at the time just felt constantly judged and attacked because I was cooking vegan food, and I would be frustrated or upset that he wouldn't see why veganism was a great way to live. I always dated people who I thought I would one day marry. There was no time that I dated someone just for like a fling or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that was just not how I personally like to date. It really hurt me when I realized that the person that I was with at the time had no interest in going vegan, understood the benefits of going vegan, but ultimately didn't care. And that is something that's really hard, because a lot of people that I love now, a lot of them have gone vegetarian, which is amazing. Like my mom and my brother went vegetarian, Eddie went vegan. Some of my really good friends are either vegetarian or red meat free or vegan. It's amazing. And it's really exciting, especially for my non-vegan friends, to eat vegan with me because they know it's important to me. Ultimately, it can be really alienating and really hard to be surrounded by people who like ultimately don't care. And that's just something that I've had to accept, that some people just don't care. They let their taste buds govern their actions, and they ultimately don't see the value in voting with your dollar and choosing to abstain from animal products and seeing like the value of that in the grander scheme of animal welfare. And it's not on you to convert everyone. And I think that it's more important that you maintain those friendships and relationships so you don't feel isolated, and that you can lead by a good example and just lead by living, you know, the compassionate lifestyle that you believe in. I won't say that me being vegan was like the root cause of my ex and I breaking up, but it was definitely like a big ethical divide. You'll feel alone sometimes, and you'll feel frustrated, and you'll feel hurt by the people around you for just the lack of compassion, whatever. Like, you're just like, how can you not go vegan after you learn all this stuff? It's hard. And this leads into my fourth point, which is you will go through an angry phase. It is something that everyone goes through, especially when they're new. You know, when you first are learning about the horrors of the animal industry and factory farming, and just like the way that all of the animal products, there's just so much that it's overwhelming, and that you get unreasonably angry. Not unreasonably, you get reasonably angry. And I think that it's important for you to go through that phase so you remember why it's important to go vegan, learn from that anger, and be compassionate, because you were probably once not vegan, and you have to be compassionate for people to slowly guide them into veganism, because no one wants to be vegan if the only vegan that they know is angry and judgmental and just like holier than thou. Like, nobody wants to be that, right? Nobody wants to be friends with that person. Your anger is valid, but it's not effective. So I just eventually accepted my friends for where they were at their journey, and it's been amazing to see people around me go vegan. Number 5 is something that I find was really hard for me, and really hard for a lot of people, especially new vegans, to kind of grasp. And it's that there's more than one type of activism. Not everyone is cut out for picketing and protests and vigils and that kind of stuff. It is emotionally draining, and you're making people uncomfortable by showing them the realities of the animal industry. And I think that it's an important work, and it definitely is effective for a lot of people to go vegan. And it's not something that I personally have ever done, and it's not something that I ever will do, just because I have so much anxiety when it comes to confrontation with people like that. I'm okay with confronting like people I love and people in my life and friendships and, you know, one-on-one conversations like that. But as a whole, to be a part of a group to do that kind of work is just way too much for me. My strength lies in content creating, recipe developing, and just sort of being a quote-unquote figurehead, I guess, for veganism. Not that I'm the figurehead for veganism. I definitely think there are better advocates out there, but I'm just one of many. If you can handle that kind of activism, I think that's great, and I think that you're doing important work. But I think that's also equally important for the people who are just passively vegan and just living by example. Eddie, for example, has no interest in protests. He has no interest in content creation. He has no interest in anything other than just eating vegan and living vegan and just supporting me and, like, you know, getting excited about vegan food. And I think that is great. Having Eddie as someone who is not the typical sort of like perception of what a vegan is. I think that we all have our strengths and we all need to live within our strengths and sort of lean into them. You know, you can volunteer for farm sanctuaries, you can do fundraising work, you can do event planning, you can do content creation, you can just be a regular person, just, you know, having one-on-one conversations with people in your office about veganism and sort of dispelling the idea that like to be a vegan, you have to be like this angry, militant person who is like super into health, super into running, super into all this kind of stuff. Like you can just be whoever you are and also vegan. So number 6 is that when you go vegan, everyone becomes an expert in nutrition, and it is so annoying. I think that it's important to default to professionals like dietitians, like doctors, who have studied many years to understand the human body and understand nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And like science is always changing. There's always bias in science. There are always going to be trends. You need to be prepared with sort of the basic knowledge of like nutrition so that you can be a proper advocate for veganism when people ask you questions about how much protein do you get, or how much protein do you need, or how much this, how much that. It can be difficult to navigate that, especially if you don't have a history or a background in science, but there are a lot of people out there that have that sort of nutritional expertise. But I'll link to a couple of videos I did with Dr. Pamela Fergusson, who has PhD in nutrition and is a registered dietitian, about how much protein do you need, what different kinds of vegan protein there are, and about supplements, because it's really important for you to supplement your B12 at the very least. There are a lot of foods that are fortified with B12, so I personally don't take a supplement anymore. I will take one every now and then if I really feel like it, but because I eat so many fortified foods, I don't really concern myself with taking a supplement. I always will defer to Dr. Pamela Fergusson. There's also Ginny Messina. Yeah, I think it's just important for you to do your own research and sort of understand general nutrition so that you can live a nice, long, healthy life. Number 7, everything is biased, including vegan media. So you know those articles where people are saying are like, oh, like vegans have a higher rate of mental health issues or a higher rate of depression or blah, 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 blah. A lot of those things are biased. The whole fear thing with soy was backed by like one wrong research paper that has been debunked several times. And that doctor is, I think, barred from practicing medicine anymore. But people still reiterate like, oh, I heard soy gives you man boobs, or I hear soy gives you hormones, or I hear soy does this or soy does that. Anytime I hear that, I just want to respond like, you know, you're really concerned about like hormones and like the amount of estrogen that you're eating, but are you eating eggs and dairy and meat? Because those have actual animal estrogens instead of plant estrogens. But even like vegan media, so like documentaries, especially like the famous ones like Game Changers, What the Health, Cowspiracy, all of them are biased, you know what I mean? They all will embellish certain facts to tell a certain story or to fit within their truth. It doesn't mean that they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that they're right either. You have to really be more critical about the media that you consume and the people that you consume it from. If you see people bouncing from one fad diet to another, from raw till 4 to whatever, like I think you need to be more critical about the sources that you get your information from. You need to just be better at being critical. And that's something that I didn't really learn until I got into my master's program and I started reading everything and being like, oh, everyone has like an underlying bias for one thing or another. And it's important to understand that bias and be aware of it and, you know, derive your own conclusions from it. Like even I'm biased, but I will always try to be fair, if that makes sense. Number 8, veganism will not heal every medical issue, but it might help, depending on what it is. Obviously, eating chips and vegan fries and, you know, Beyond Meat and all this kind of stuff, they're not health foods, right? They're not gonna improve your weight, or they're not gonna, like, just because something is plant-based doesn't mean that it's inherently better. You won't have as much of an issue with cholesterol. You'll improve your fiber. You'll have probably better digestion, depending on how you eat and how you live your general lifestyle. But veganism is not an end-all cure-all. It didn't heal my eczema, but it definitely helped it. That's it. That's all you gotta know. You know, veganism won't heal or help with everything. It's just a lifestyle. That's all it is. It will improve animal lives. It'll improve animal welfare. It will help the planet, depending on how you eat and how you shop. It will not cure everything. And I think that it's really important that people understand that. Number 9 is that I wish I learned to read ingredient labels more thoroughly and double check with restaurants and ask for allergen information, because allergen information is serious shit and it is almost always more correct than what the chef knows or what the whatever knows. Sometimes people don't realize there's a little bit of butter in this, or that there's whey in this, or casein is, you know, a dairy product. Always check allergen information and double check ingredients. That goes back into like the everyone makes mistakes things, and you'll learn from it. You'll just learn to double check and read again and just be skeptical. So number 10 is that you will never be vegan enough, and that's okay. There will always be people out there who are saying like, oh, you can't have a cat and be vegan if you're feeding them meat, or like you can't have a dog and be vegan if you're not feeding them a vegan diet and all that kind of stuff. Oh, you're not double checking that the glue in your shoes is vegan, you're not vegan enough. Oh, you have to wear steel-toed shoes that have leather in them for work, you're not vegan enough. The list goes on. And basically you just need to live your life and figure out that you're doing the best that you can and improve every day. You know, when you have the funds, when you have the ability, when you have the opportunity to do better, do better. But sometimes people can't afford to rehaul their whole wardrobe. Sometimes you're gifted something that you really need, but unfortunately it has leather in it, or, you know, that kind of stuff. Overall, we need to be conscious of the impact that we have when we are just buying new things, and that buying secondhand leather or using up the products that you have that have animal ingredients or animal products in them is better in the end. Why make your global impact on the environment bigger just because something isn't vegan enough? Yeah, I probably do eat too much junk food. Yeah, I probably have a lot of acne. Yeah, I probably should be better with my fitness. It's up to me to make those changes, and you just need to like let the other people who are just on your back about that kind of stuff just roll off. You know what I mean? Just tell them to mind their own business. Like, everyone is on their journey. I have been vegan for 6 years, and 3 years ago, vegan Lisa at the time made a lot of mistakes that six-year vegan Lisa does not. I'm sure 10-year vegan Lisa will make fewer mistakes and more improvements than current Lisa. That's just life, you know? You're always going to be improving. I'm always going to be reducing the amount of waste that I put out. You know, I'll be a lot better about food waste. I'll be a lot better about eating processed foods. I'll be a lot better about this or that, but you know, it's a journey. So that concludes the 10 things that I wish that I knew about being vegan. It's not the most positive, it's reality, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I knew those things. And I think that it's important that you go into veganism being informed. Also recognizing that we have a huge community that is just so pumped for people to go vegan. It can be equally toxic, it can be super elitist, but I think that you take the good with the bad, you know? They're also the most excited to share different vegan recipes and where to find vegan products. It's a pretty great community. And so speaking of vegan community, I asked my Instagram followers, what are some nuggets of wisdom that you wish you knew before you went vegan? This is from Michelle from Vegan in Your City. She said, I think keeping in mind that the longer you are vegan, the easier it gets, which makes it harder to empathize or connect with the challenges people face with making the switch. 20+ years and it's just my default state, and I don't even think about it most of the time. The whole thing is a reflex. So true. When I first went vegan, it was just really overwhelming all the time to sort of like realize how much animal products is in everything that I ever liked. Now I've just like accepted. I'm like, oh yeah, I won't find sour cream and onion chips that are vegan. That's just very rare. I'll check to see maybe if they replace milk products, but they probably won't have, and that's okay. I just know more now, you know? The longer you're in it, the easier it gets. This one's really nice. The most important thing that I've learned is that there's a fantabulous vlogger, the Viet Vegan, who will inspire, encourage, and love her followers. It'll be 2 years, January 15th, 2020. I couldn't have done it without you, which is so nice. Congratulations on 2 years. That is amazing. And a lot of you have messaged me or messaged in the comments saying that like I have helped influence you or inspire you to go vegan, and I think that is so cool. I love hearing that. I love you sharing your stories with me. Thank you. Good work. Keep it up. You're amazing. The biggest thing that surprised me was that I had a period of being really angry at people for not wanting to go vegan after hearing how bad it is. I would say to a newbie to just remember that we have all probably been that person to shrug off annoying vegans and to have compassion for others. I agree. Another person said, not worrying about cross-contamination in the kitchen. Vegan milk lasts forever in the fridge. It can be lonely, but inspiration and support from local heroes like the Viet Vegan, so nice, is magical. I mean, some people might argue that like, oh, you're not eating vegan if you're eating something that's fried in the same oil that's chicken's fried in, but like, I think that is just not productive and just not helpful. I don't really care about cross-contamination unless I'm allergic to it. So like, I'm allergic to fish and like shellfish, so I just don't eat things that have been cooked in similar sort of situations. Sometimes I eat sushi and I have a feeling they don't clean their knives very well because I'll get a reaction afterwards. So you live and you learn. Cross-contamination isn't an issue unless you have an allergy. Knowing how you live your vegan life and explaining it simply to others are two different things. I found it useful to rehearse some answers by myself to what do you eat or what clothes do you buy, so that I'm not just like, well, I eat beans, fur bad. And immediately see their eyes glaze over in an absolutely not for me ever expression. The longer you'll go at this, the better you'll be at fielding those kind of questions. And that's why I started to be vegan as well. Like, I wanted to show people what I was eating and that you could eat like vegan Vietnamese food. You could eat delicious egg salad sandwiches or whatever. And you can have cupcakes and cookies and they can be delicious. Definitely rehearse or you'll get better at reciting those sort of answers. Lead by example. Many of the people in my life gave me crap about it in the beginning, but 5 years later, many of those same people are going plant-based themselves because of my journey. I love that. What I've learned is to keep an open mind. I used to feel so negative towards the world and other people who couldn't accept why I was vegetarian, but I realized it would make me feel worse and worse, so I changed my outlook. Instead of feeling like everyone is against me, I had an open mind and accepted that no one is perfect. In time, more people will understand and come to the same realization that I did as to why we shouldn't be eating meat. Now I'm less judgmental of others and can keep positive, which is just as important as advocating for what's right. That's so nice. This one other person said, trust nothing. Food companies sneak dairy, eggs, and gelatin into so much. Unless it's clearly marked vegan on the label, you gotta read those ingredients. The allergen statement underneath the ingredient list will do most of the work for you. Make note of the accidentally vegan products that you use most, but even then, check the labels every once in a while. Also, in regards to health and beauty items, cruelty-free does not necessarily mean vegan and vice versa. Definitely, especially that cruelty-free part. Holy. If you guys want to see a really great resource for cruelty-free products and understanding what's cruelty-free, what the difference is, what companies are cruelty-free, what companies have vegan options, I'll definitely link to Logical Harmony. Their brand list is amazing. They do a really amazing job just double checking all that kind of stuff. Always read ingredients because milk powder is hiding everywhere. Follow vegan foodie accounts like yours, which they meant mine, for recipes and inspirations. Proteins aren't everything and we worry about them way too much. Just eat more. I agree. My nugget of wisdom is it's fun to cook with friends and share new recipes with each other. That's definitely been something that's been really fun for me, is just bonding over food with other people and just like being really excited to share vegan recipes with other people. After 19 years as a vegan, I have finally, I think, stopped apologizing for being vegan. I think that is something that was really hard for me because at the beginning I was just like, oh, sorry, I'm so difficult, I'm vegan, or sorry, like you have to give me vegan options, or sorry about this, sorry about that. I obviously don't feel great about like putting out other people in terms of like if someone's hosting a dinner party, they are like, oh my god, I didn't realize you're vegan, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to make them scramble and make something, but if someone's inviting me to a party and they should know by now that I'm vegan and they don't provide any vegan options, it kind of sucks, but it's just kind of like, whatever, and I just come prepared with my own snacks. Thank you for everyone who commented on my Instagram post about this, and you know, for anyone who feels compelled to share their own, you know, nuggets of wisdom for things that you wish that you knew before you went vegan, let me know about down below. Let me know if you are vegan, how many years you've been vegan, what inspired you to go vegan, and let me know if there's any of you people who are just, you know, hoping to like try more vegan foods like once a week or like go plant-based like 2 or 3 times a week. I would also love to hear from you. What are things that you wish that you learned before you embarked on your more compassionate journey? Anyway, this is a very long video, but I hope you guys are having a wonderful new year. For any of you who are embarking on Veganuary, best of luck to you. Feel free to ask questions down below. I'll try to answer everyone that I can, and I hope that you have a wonderful new year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.